Hello and welcome to Insights, the podcast with your host, Joe Pane. Join me in this deep exploration of our personal journeys from ambition to meaning, where we stop living life fast and start living life deep. This is a journey of waking up and realizing that our lives have never been about us, but about others. True success leaves positive ripple effects on other souls. I believe that success needs to be redefined from our own personal ambitious endeavors to be redefined as the value that we leave and give to others around us. Join me now as we begin this journey to deeper connections, even more fulfillment, some fun, curiosity, life, love, and all good things. Your deeper journey from ambition to meaning starts right now. Hello and welcome to episode 14 of season 2 of Insights and the Insights for this week. I appreciate you being with me. Hey, it's with great excitement that I can see that this might not sound like a big deal to you, but to me it's like wow, and that is that 8% of the listeners are now from overseas, like from the UK and from the US. So I don't know who they are, but if you are in the UK or the US and you're listening to this, I deeply appreciate your attention and your listening, and feel welcome to find me on my fan page on Joe Pane Insights or at Joe Pane Insights on Facebook fan page and message me. It'd be great to hear from you. I love hearing from people overseas. It's amazing. Here I am in my little city, my little suburb of Moonee Ponds in Melbourne, Australia, and there are people in London and in the US listening to this. It's just incredible. So thank you so much. So today I thought I would focus on, I thought I'd just share with you an insight on emotional flexibility. Emotional flexibility. I have what's called the trainings that I've been delivering to organizations and teams and different groups, including some primary schools actually coming up very soon, which I'm very excited about, are on what I call my emotional fitness formula. So I have this 5 core principle emotional fitness formula, and emotional flexibility is one of those core principles. The main principles are, the first one is identity, the second one is life stage, the third one is values, the fourth one is emotional flexibility, and the fifth one is perspective. You would have heard me talk about some aspects of those different principles over the first season of Insights. So today I've got a short snippet I want to share with you that are some thoughts that I actually put pen to paper on whilst we were on a little break recently in a little village called Robe in South Australia. You may have heard me talk about that in the last episode. And I had an afternoon to myself one afternoon, and I just put some thoughts down, and I just thought I'd share with you my thoughts on what emotional flexibility actually is and the power of it. So emotional flexibility means not being a slave to our expectations. Emotional flexibility means not being a slave to our expectations. I've got to tell you guys, expectations are one of the most significant key ingredients to affecting how we feel. And that word is affecting with the letter A. In the realm of psychology, we talked about affect. And affect means, how do I make you feel? So how am I affecting you is how am I making you feel? Quite different to the word affect or effect. So expectations are one of the core, default, unconscious core ingredients to how people feel. And let me explain what I mean. Most people are emotionally dictated to by their expectations. So I'll give you a classic example. You may be on a long flight. Maybe I'm flying to the US or I'm flying to the UK, or the lady from London is coming to see me here, or I don't know, whatever. We're on a long flight, right? And you were told that there's no Wi-Fi in this flight. You were told that from the very beginning. So your expectation is there is no Wi-Fi, so that's just how it is. So your expectations and your reality of experience in that case are a match. So we are emotionally neutral when it comes to that. Imagine now an hour into the flight. You're an hour into the flight and you are told that the Wi-Fi issues have been eradicated, and in the following minutes, you will have Wi-Fi. Out comes your laptop. You are now ready to rock. You're ready to do those emails. You're ready to surf the net. You're ready to do some social media, whatever you're ready for. You're ready to watch Netflix, whatever it is. And only minutes later, you're told that the Wi-Fi is actually not coming on. How will you feel? Upset? Angry? Frustrated? Will these or a similar flow of emotions now flavor the rest of your flight experience? In most cases, it would. In most cases, people's flights are emotionally destroyed because of an expectation of Wi-Fi and then Wi-Fi being taken away from them. When we are slaves to our expectations, and don't worry, I've got the antidote to that in this thought, in this insight. So let me just keep sharing with you my line of thought. When we are slaves to our expectations, our emotional flexibility is determined by an outside force. The truth is that even though it seems an outside source has impacted us, it is an inside source inside us, an inside source interpreting our experience, which is determining how we feel. The expectation is a trigger. Following that trigger comes an interpretation or a thought. We then associate a meaning onto that thought, and we are in total control of what a thought means to us. It is in this critical point between the trigger and the response, the stimulation and the response, as Viktor Frankl used to talk about in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that critical point between stimulus and response, or in the case of what I'm talking about here, the trigger and the response, that with awareness in that critical point, that with awareness, we can change how we choose to react to any experience or any expectation. So the most powerful way to stop being a slave to expectation is to trade all expectations in and purchase appreciation. For example, have you ever been in physical pain? Of course you have. We all have. In a heartbeat, you have a deeper appreciation of being pain-free when you're in physical pain. We don't have to go through pain to gain appreciation, though. We don't need to lose something to appreciate it. We can choose appreciation any moment. Another way to stop being a slave of expectation is to decide to laugh at ourselves. The shortest distance between our heads and our hearts is to laugh at ourselves. Seriously, look at what frustrates us these days. No hotspot, no Wi-Fi, slow internet, train too slow, traffic's too hard, and so on. If you can't laugh at the ridiculous nature, if we can't laugh at the ridiculous nature of that, then we will remain a slave to expectation. If you expect the train to be on time, you are a slave. If you expect the internet to work all the time, you are a slave. If, on the other hand, you simply appreciate that there is a train, that there is this thing called internet, or that there is traffic, expectations no longer own us. And all these first world problems will continue. But Joe, you don't understand. It is frustrating. Trains should work. The internet should work. Yes, I agree with you. But if that's how you allow yourself to continue to think, you are missing the point of this message. The third and final way to stop being a slave to your expectations. So the first way was to have an appreciation. The second way is to giggle, is to laugh at ourselves and the ridiculousness of our first world problems. And the third way to stop being a slave to our expectations is to negatively visualize, which I spoke about in a previous episode, I think, in season 1. The third way is to negatively visualize. And this is when we see things with our imaginations. We see how things could be much worse than they are. And then allowing ourselves to be grateful for what it is that we are experiencing. So for example, you may have come very close to having a car accident and you had a near collision, but they missed. You survived. We've got an adrenaline rush of panic or reaction or fright that we got. And then we start getting angry at what could have happened or whatever. Well, the moment we go with the anger and the reaction, we've become a slave to our expectation. But on the other hand, if we negatively visualize and say to ourselves, well, what if that accident did happen? I could be in hospital unconscious. I could be losing income for many, many months. My family could be suffering. And then suddenly I realize, hey, nothing actually happened. I'm flowing in traffic. I'm okay. I'm 100% all good. So, wow, how lucky am I? Do you get the point? So negative visualization can be a very, very powerful tool as well. So I trust in this insight this week that emotional flexibility is about stopping being a slave to our expectations. Expectations is such an incredible, it just flavors our experiences. When we're not aware of how expectations can affect our experiences, it's incredible how powerful in a negative way they can be. Just on a final note, as I wrap up today's episode, I remember a couple of years ago where I was training for a marathon, and I was really fit and strong and feeling great. And I was doing these little shorter races, these 10-kilometer races to prepare for the 42-kilometer race. And anyway, you might think I'm a little bit crazy, but running is just one of my soul's passions. And I ran a really good time in this 10. It was actually my personal best time for some 12 years in this 10-kilometer race. And in my second 10-kilometer race a month later, because I was feeling even more amazing, I was fully expecting to absolutely hammer that time that I did in the previous 10-kilometer race. I thought I would actually smash it because of the way I was feeling. Now, here's a fact. I actually beat it just only by 5 or 6 seconds, and I felt incredibly disappointed. I just did a PB again, and I felt disappointed. Why? Because my expectations were fully loaded up that I was going to smash that time by another minute. I beat it by 5 seconds. I still beat it, but I beat it by 5 seconds, not 60 seconds. So I was disappointed. I was disappointed for the whole day. Unbelievable. And that's when I came to realize, not necessarily then, but only recently when I've been writing my emotional fitness formula program, and when I started writing about emotional flexibility, I thought, wow, expectations are emotional flexibility is when we are a slave to our expectations. So expectations either affect us, in the illusion that it's something outside of us, or it's something inside of us that we have a way of choosing to appreciate that moment, or to laugh at the ridiculousness of the moment to ourselves, to laugh at ourselves, in a healthy way, self-deprecate, or to negatively visualize how things could be or could have been so much worse than what they are, and therefore being grateful for the moment that we have. So thank you for listening, especially if you're in the UK or the US. I don't want to ignore 92% of my listeners who are Australians. So please don't think that I'm not appreciative of you being here too, but I'm just thrilled that there are people on the other side of the world listening to this. It's amazing. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to reconnecting with you with the next insights in episode 15. If you recall, when I closed season 1 last year in 2019, I mentioned that in 2020, I'm going to have some people that on my podcast where I'll be interviewing them. So I'm certainly organizing that for you as well. So at some point over the next couple of months, we'll be interviewing some amazing people. So bear with me on that one, because that is all happening in due course. Well, enjoy your morning, your afternoon, or your evening, wherever you may be. So thanks again, and looking forward to reconnecting with you for episode 15 next week of season 2 of Insights. Thanks so much, guys. Bye for now. I'm Joe Pane, and you've been listening to Insights, the podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. You can now follow my insights on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to being with you again very soon in the next episode of Insights, the podcast.